Hey everyone, Jasmine Lucero here, and I wanted to share something funny that happened. So I was at the liquor store and I was buying a huge bottle of Everclear, and the young boy that was checking me out was like, man, that's a lot of alcohol. And I was trying to explain to him that I don't drink, that I was getting this alcohol, this Everclear, to make tinctures with, and he had no idea what a tincture was. He kept looking at me kind of like, what is this lady trying to tell me? She's probably an alcoholic and she's just trying to cover it up, right? And so, yeah, it was just funny to me because I don't buy alcohol, but when I went in, he was really skeptical about the whole tincture thing. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about tinctures and what they are. A tincture is an herbal extract that is created mostly using alcohol. We do sometimes use glycerin and vinegar and water, depending on what the constituents are in the plant. So the constituents are just the active ingredients, I guess you could call them, of the plant. So, you know, we have lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins that are in plants, and then you've got vitamins and minerals that are in plants, but you've also got the medicinally active compounds in the plants. And these are the things that really work synergistically with our body to bring about a change in our health. And so when we make a tincture, we want to extract as many of those as possible and get a well-rounded spectrum of constituents out of that herbal plant. Now, one thing that we do is, the first thing that we do is we decide, okay, do I need to tincture this plant fresh or dried? Even if I'm tincturing a dried plant, it's still a fresh dried plant. So normally what I do is I will harvest my plant straight out of the garden and either put it in the menstruum right away, and all the menstruum is the formula that I've created with either alcohol, glycerin, vinegar, or water. And I will put it in the menstruum right away, or if it needs to be dried, I will dry it for a time to lower the water content, and then I will tincture it right away. So some things really do well being dried a little bit first. Peppermint leaf is one of those things. So you dry it a little bit first and then you tincture it. And in deciding what your menstruum should be, you look at the constituents in the plant. And if you don't know, that's okay. There's a lot of different herbal medicine making books that will tell you, what you need to use to extract which plant. And what the percentage of alcohol should be and that type of thing. So you can get all of that out of a book. I'll actually, hold on, I'll show you a book. Okay, so two of my favorite books for medicine making. This is Making Plant Medicine, and this one is the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook. So I'll link these below. And both of these tell you what percentage of alcohol and everything for each plant. And one thing that I would recommend is making sure that you tincture each plant separately. So make your peppermint tincture, make your elderflower tincture, make your yarrow tincture, and then combine them in a formula if you're going to create a formula with it. And the reason you do that is because not every plant uses the same menstruum. You know, some plants need more alcohol for extraction. Some plants might do well with a little bit of vinegar in there. It just depends on what constituents you're trying to get out of that plant. And, that's how you create that menstruum formula. So you will sometimes see in these herbal medicine making handbooks and books on making herbal medicine, you'll see something that has a number by it, and it might say 1:5 and then 40%. And what this means, it's a ratio, 1 to 5 and 40%. And the 1 to 5 just means that that's the percentage of herbs to the menstruum. So one part herbs and then 5-part menstruum. And then the 40% is the percentage of alcohol. So that would be an 80 proof alcohol on that formula. And that's just good to know. Sometimes you'll see that on the backs of herbal tinctures, but you can even write that on your own label if you make your own, just so you kind of know for next time, hey, this is how I extracted it. This is the basic formula that I use to do that. So another thing that we have is called a glycerite, or some companies call it a glycol. And this is an extraction that is made using a higher percentage of glycerin. And sometimes it does contain alcohol, sometimes it doesn't, just depending on, how you're making it. You can make one with just glycerin. The problem with glycerites or glycols is they don't extract as many of the constituents out of the plant as the higher percentage alcohol does. Some plants it really doesn't matter. Some plants extract really well in glycerin, and like cleavers, catnip, and fennel extract really well in glycerin. But for most plants, you're going to want to at least have, some alcohol. The alcohol also acts as a preservative and keeps your glycol or your glycerite shelf stable. So that helps, and then it also helps to extract a little bit more of the constituents out. So that's a good medium. If you're wanting, not something high in alcohol, but a little bit is okay, then I would do that. Now, why would someone want to take a tincture instead of like drinking an herbal tea? Well, there's several reasons why tinctures are beneficial. One of the reasons is that they're often stronger than tea. So you can just put a dropper full of a tincture in a little bit of water versus drinking maybe a couple of cups of tea. So the strength is one of the reasons. Two, they're a lot more convenient. It's a lot easier to put a tincture in your purse and carry it with you throughout the day rather than making sure that you have hot water to make a cup of tea and the time it takes to make the tea. So I'm not downing tea, but sometimes we just need that convenience, and a tincture is very convenient. Another thing is with a tincture, there's often many constituents that are extracted in a tincture versus in a tea. So a tea is only extracting the water-soluble constituents, and a tincture is also getting the alcohol-soluble constituents. So you've got a broader variety of constituents there. Now, I will say, though, that some herbs or some actions, desired actions that you want from the herbs, are best created using a tea. So, for instance, if I want the diaphoretic action from yarrow, and that just means the fever lowering, or the, I want it to open up my pores and let the heat out of my body. If I want that action from yarrow, it's best if I drink it as a tea, because that warm water from the tea and drinking it just opens up the pores a lot better than a tincture would. Now, you can use a tincture in a pinch, but the tea is probably a better choice. And then a couple of other disadvantages to using tinctures is they cost more to make. If you're growing your own herbs and drying them, that's really cheap and you've got them readily available. So making a tincture does cost a little bit more. And another thing is some people don't want to use alcohol at all. And maybe it's a religious preference, or maybe they've had trouble with alcohol in the past and they just want to stay completely away from that. And that's very understandable. And, a glycerin is a good second choice, a glycerite or a glycol, as is a tea. I mean, we've got to do what we can do, and it's better to go ahead and get the herbs any way that we can. But a tincture is a great choice for a lot of reasons, and I keep quite a bit of tinctures on hand. They last for many, many years, especially if they're high percentage alcohol. They will last for many years. The glycerite's not quite as long, but they're still a good choice, especially if that's what you need. So thank you for joining me today, and if you learned something new, subscribe to the channel and catch the next video. Thanks a lot.